Okay, so it is based on a true story. And the premise is that Jessica Chastain is an intensive care nurse who has a heart condition and is relatively new to her job. She's a single parent and she's in need of her health insurance kicking in. And obviously, it feels a little bit alien to us in the UK, what with not needing health insurance.
Yeah.
And she is doing everything she can to keep going until she's been in the job for long enough for her health insurance to kick in. Um, she's she gets a new colleague played by Eddie Redmayne, who is another nurse, and he proves to be very supportive of her and wants to work with help her keep the job going, make sure that she's okay health wise. He's helps out with the kids. She's got these two children as a single mother. And very early on, one of her patients dies, not entirely out of the blue but somewhat unexpectedly. And some months later, the hospital contact the police saying that we've got an investigation underway into whether or not this, was a natural death. And they're uncooperative with the police having called them. And it becomes increasingly apparent that it's her friend who is responsible for this and for other deaths. It's not the first time such things have made the news. So that the overall premise is then the work to try to catch him, and understand what has happened, what he's done, and ultimately get to the bottom of it in an American hospital environment where they don't like confronting problems. I suspect
Uh,
hospitals here may have the same issues.
not as bad, but yes.
It's um, it's I mean, so that's really the summary of it. I very much enjoyed it. Well, insofar as one can enjoy something that's ultimately about somebody killing people in hospital, which isn't terribly cheerful. Um, I thought it was well acted. I thought it was interesting, and and based on current news in the UK, obviously this isn't babies, but we've got had recent news about a trial for nurse being responsible for the death of babies. It feels quite appropriate timing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I
Topical.
think I would give it a solid 4, and
All right.
it is going to be on my could potentially watch again list, because everything is on my could potentially watch again list.
Well, even the Deep
No,
House.
no, that's not on my could watch again list. That is one of the few films that is not make it onto the could watch again.
That's how you know you have truly messed up your filmmaking career when
Exactly.
Hollywood refuse to rewatch something you have made.
And I would probably watch Avalanche Sharks again. So that tells you just how bad.
Oh,
So
okay, so
watch The Good Nurse, don't watch Deep House.
yeah, so this is an interesting film because, as you said, they don't seem to shy away from the fact that I think quite early on, I think even in the trailer for this, the first scene you have is somebody asking Eddie Redmayne, "Is it true? Is it true what you did? Is it true what they said?" So they don't shy away from the fact that and everything about this guy. That I mean, I said I watched the documentary that it was based on the book that this film is based on, and the documentary was called "Catching the Killer Nurse." So, in which they said this guy Charlie, can't remember his last name, but they reckon that he might be the most prolific serial killer that the US has ever seen because he's been working in hospitals for 10 years. People have died suspiciously at every hospital that he's worked at. And all that happens is that the hospital investigates and then just say, okay, we won't say anything about it if you just never work here again. And then they pass him on to the next hospital, and he goes to the next hospital, and it kicks off again. And I think if I'm correct, there's bits of this film where they intimate that that's part of the problem. The part of the problem is because healthcare is a business in America. People are thinking it's kind of like shareholders thinking about the bottom line, and they think, oh my god, if people found out that we had a killer nurse in here, our share price is gonna go down, pretty much.
And what will we be liable for? Will there be endless, wrongful death
Mhm.
lawsuits because we, didn't get this person who killed people out of the hospital?
Yeah, yeah. And so instead of taking liability, they just want to get rid of the guy, and then they don't strike him off or anything. But and I said it's obviously this kind of stuff is a bit close to home for me because my wife is a doctor, and you were talking. Oh, we've had recent doctor strikes and everything. Part of it is about bad working conditions and the fact that hospitals like to let doctors get in the neck. And if you'll excuse me for just give me 30 seconds, give me 30 seconds to get on the soapbox, because the a hospital that my wife was working at actually had two doctors who died, like who doctor and not just died, two doctors who killed themselves while at work, and the hospital just kept quiet about it. They didn't tell anybody about it. Some of the doctors who actually worked with the doctors who died did not find out until they found out they weren't told by the hospital. They were told by through WhatsApp threads going, has anybody seen this person? Has anyone said, oh, you haven't heard? And the hospital said nothing about it. They just sort of kept quiet about it because they were like, yeah, no, nothing to do with us. And so it is a problem. It is a film that I think has is could be accused of being an important film with a capital I, but it is. But I have to admit, after watching the documentary, I didn't really feel the need to watch the film. So,
No, no,
but
I think it's very much one or you wouldn't need to do both.
yeah, yeah.
But you
Uh,
could watch the film and then follow it up with the documentary, but I'm not sure you'd want to do it the other way around.
Give it a
yeah,
run. No.
probably to see what like there's probably things that have been covered up and all that. But anyway. So The Good Nurse, 4 stars for The Good Nurse, and let us move on to back to cinema.